Hi, in this video we'll talk about the UI tab. This is actually a toggle that has an extra functionality to work with a UI container. Let's get started. So a UI tab, it looks like a button, but it's actually a toggle because it has an on and an off state. And you usually use it with a UIToggleGroup because when you have a tab group, only one tab should be enabled, and you should always have at least one tab enabled. And I'm gonna show. Sorry, I hit the mic. And I'm gonna show you how that works. So let me change this. All right, and let's look at the component. I'm gonna get one already assembled from the UI menu, but after that, we will just create one from scratch so you can see it's very easy. Basically, the ones that you get in the UI menu are pre-assembled and they have animations to show the on-off state because they use UIToggle animators. And they also have ways to show you the selectable state because it is also a UI selectable. So let's go to Tools, Doozy UI menu. And here we have some basic tabs. I'm gonna get the most simplest of tabs, a simple tab, right? So let's look at it a bit. So just looking at the options, we have some settings. We can set it interactable or not. You can deselect it after press, depending if you're creating a mobile game and you do not want it to remain selected because that is a UI selectable state. You can just enable that. You have is on, so on and off states. This is the one that defines it. You have a cooldown. So basically what this is used for, if you do not want the user to spam the button on off, you can set the button as disabled for a set of time, for example 0.1 or 0.2 seconds. So he cannot click over and over again like a maniac, right? And like I said, usually you won't have only one tab. You have 2, 3, 4 tabs. So I don't know, levels, settings, profile, whatever, shop, right? So each tab will show a different container. So you will use a toggle group, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And like I said, the difference between a UI toggle and the UI tab is that the UI tab can connect to a UI container or UIView, right? So what this does is when the tab is set on, it will call show for the UI container or UIView. When the tab is set to off or false, is on becomes false, it will call hide for that container. And now this is a dual synchronization because if you call show on that container, the tab will become on. And if you call hide on that container, the tab will become off. So basically they're synchronized, right? So that's the main difference between a UI toggle and a UI tab. So you also have the states. These are triggers for the UI selectable state. So normal, highlighted, pressed, selected and disabled. You also have behaviors, and you can add these behaviors and trigger your events whenever you need to. And then you have your normal toggle callbacks, so toggle on, toggle off, instant toggle on, instant toggle off, and when the value changed. And of course the navigation, and this one is for controllers. Yeah, you don't need to worry about it. It's just normal way of handling the Unity inputs for controllers, and yeah. All right, so let me enter play mode and let me show you this. So this animation is basically from the selectable state, and it's probably on the background. So this is it, is for the color. And we should also have one for, yeah. So this is the one that does the scaling part. And if I click it, the UI, where is it? UI selectable, UI toggle. I'm looking for UI toggle animation. Let's see where it is. Label. Where is the UI toggle animation? UI selectable, okay. UI selectable color animation, UI selectable color. oh, you used on and off, so we didn't use the UI toggle animation for this. So it basically switches between these two. You can also do that. I forgot to mention that. So I'm going to show you some different ways of animating this. All right, so this is your basic UI toggle. Now we also need a container to show and hide. So let's get one already assembled from the UI menu. Containers, container, yeah, give me a simple container. Where is it? This one. So let's make it small. Let's say 200 by 200. Let's put it, let's anchor it down here. Do you have custom start position? Yes. Don't. Actually, yeah, let's do that. So hide, show. Let's change the animation to go down just so it's nicer. So show and hide animations. Yeah, hide, show, perfect. And now let's connect them. How do you connect them? Well, you select the tab and you simply drag and drop this here. You're done, they're connected. So let's enter play mode. And because the tab is on, this container is visible. Now, if I turn it off, they didn't connect. Let's just enter again. This happens when play mode options are enabled, right? So there you go, on, off. Now, this is when you change the tab's value. I told you that it calls hide and show, depending on true or false, on the UI container that is connected. But I also told you that it goes the other way around. So basically, if I come to the simple container and call hide, check out the tab. See? This also gets updated. And this is very important because you can, if you use views and you show them from your graph, the tab will also get enabled, right? So now that we have this, let's move these. I don't know, let's move on here. Let's duplicate and let's duplicate again, right? Let's enter play mode. And now they're all connected like that. So usually you will want to have groups, right? So you'll have tab 1, 2, and 3. And when one tab becomes on, the others are set off. So you want a way to control them, to link them together, right? So this is where you use a UIToggleGroup. And let me show you. If you look at each tab, you will see that you have here a toggle group. And I'm going to show you why you need it. So let's create an empty game object. I'm going to say tabs group. It really doesn't matter what you name your game object. And here I'm going to say UIToggleGroup. Toggle, right? I do not need to have a visual cue for this particular component. It doesn't even have to be interactable. What I do need is this control mode, right? So this control mode will be one toggle on enforced. What does that mean? Well, you can also in edit mode, if you keep your mouse over, it will explain. So only one toggle will be on at any given point in time, and one toggle will always be forced on. So in this case, when we will enter play mode, one of these toggles will be on, probably the simple tab, because the sorting mode is set to hierarchy, right? So let's select our tabs and let's tell them that they belong to this toggle group. And that's it. Now you have them connected, and whenever you turn one off, the others will, one on, the others will be off, right? There you go. So this is how this works. So now I can simply move from one to the other without doing, as you've noticed, I didn't write a single line of code. It's really not complicated. And because we're using one toggle on enforced, you cannot turn this off, right? So the toggle that is on, in this case, the tab that is on, right, is the same thing, cannot be turned off. If you change the control mode, which I think this would be a fringe case for a tab group, right? Let's say you say one toggle on. This will work the same, but you can have all toggles off, right? So that's the control mode. Another way of using this is passive. So basically, it really doesn't care. I don't know why you would use that. Maybe you like to say override interactability for the connected toggles. So you can just say on off if you want to disable them. Maybe that would be a use case. I really don't see it, but you can also do that. All right. And let's set them enabled. All right. So something like that. You also have any toggle on. What does this mean? That means that you will have an enforced. At least one toggle will be on, but you can have several toggles on like that. Right? Again, this is a stranger use case for a tab group, and you will use one toggle on more. There you go. So this is the way this works. Now, how do you set the first toggle, which toggle should be on? So for example, if all my tabs are set to off, right, at edit time, now the tab group is responsible to select which toggle to be on. One way of doing it is to set the first toggle and you're done, all right? But the auto sort will use the hierarchy by default. So basically, if I look at the hierarchy, I have simple tab, so 1, 2, 3, right? So if I enter play mode, this will be on and these will be off. Let's check it out. There you go. If I change the order, let's put this one first in the hierarchy. This one will be the first tab, the first tab that is considered first tab. Yeah. So let's enter play mode. So as you can see, you can control it like that. Another way of doing it, let's come back here. I'm just showing you how to determine the first toggle because this is important, right? You can say by game object name, right? So if I say tab A, tab B, and tab C, this one, the A tab will be the first one because it sorts them by the game object name, right? So let's come here. There you go. If I change the names, let's say D, this one will be now the one because it's sorted alphabetically, right? Enabled. There you go. All right, let's continue. Another way of ABC, all right? Another way of sorting them is by toggle name. What the heck is a toggle name? Well, this is a toggle name. These toggles do not have a category and a name, although you can use one. And let's just say so demo. This will be A. Let's say demo B, and this will be demo C. So now it will sort by this value, right? So let's enter play mode and the A1 will be enabled, right? If I change this to D, B will be the one that will be the first toggle. There you go. And now if you want to override all of this and you don't really care about it, let's just remove the custom options. You can also say disable, so you don't really care, or just leave it like that, the default value, and just drag and drop your first toggle and it will know which one it is. Notice that even though this asks for a UI toggle reference, you are adding a tab because a tab is actually a UI toggle, right? So it works. Check it out. So now I've put this one as the first toggle. There you go. Works. Let's say C as the first toggle. Let's put it not here in the, oh, come on. What am I doing? A, B, C. What did I do? So container 1, A, B, C should be here. So in the tabs group, I'm going to put C. And now this will be the first tab that will be on. There you go. So that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to show you some animations with tabs. And actually, I'm also going to show you how our example toggle groups work. Toggle group, no. tab containers, I think they're called. So Doozy UI menu, we added in the container some tab layouts. Yeah, that's it. So basically, this is the same thing, but it's already assembled in a way that you can simply use and prototype your stuff. So let me add this. Let me just set it as big as this screen. Yeah, and let's enter play mode. And now I'm gonna have A, B, and C, and this is how they work. It's really quite easy. So let's look at their setup, because you will want to know how they work. So here we have our tabs, and like I said, we have a UI toggle group with hierarchy set, and then your first toggle, and then you have your content, your containers that are set here with show and hide. So hide, show, it's very easy. Now, if I want to add another tab to this, it is very easy, because this is actually has a horizontal layout group. So let's add tab D. Check it out. So I'm going to rename this to tab D, just so you see how easy it is to add tabs to this particular setup. Do not look that this is they're very huge on the screen, because I'm using a lower resolution, especially, so let's say 1920 by 1080. Yeah, this would be a lot better, but I'm using this resolution so it's easier on your eyes, right? So I created tab D, right? It has the toggle group, but the container is wrong, it's C. If you have two tabs that reference the same container, you will have issues. And actually, let me show you what happens when you do that. So I have tab C and tab D reference the same container. So let's enter play mode and check it out. So if you see this, because they're synchronized, they always try to work like that, and yeah, you get a mess. Just know, if you see this, you have two tabs that reference the same container, right? It's a silly bug, but it happens. So let me create a container D this time. Oh, sorry. And let's change the letter to D. All right. And all I have to do is simply connect them. And there you go. So I just created another tab and another container. Of course, you can change the animation, do all that good stuff. Yeah, let's enter play mode. There you go. D. Now it works. Did I change something back? Let me check. So C, Control C, D, Controls D. Yeah, that's correct. What happened? Oh, another issue I have here is with the animations. So let's look at the animations. So this uses a UIContainer UI animator. It's really not correct. It should use a UIToggle UI animator, because it's referencing the wrong container. It should be D here. So yeah, we need to update this. So now it will work. It's just the wrong thing here, right? Yeah, there you go. All right, so now let's create a tab group like this one from scratch. So I'm gonna create a custom thing from nothing, and I'm gonna show you how to build your animation and stack them and so on. It's really easy. So let's kill everything, and yeah, this is the tutorial from start to finish, right? So first, I want to create a menu in the center, right? So I'm going to create an empty game object, and I'm going to say these tabs, right? Now I want these tabs to be on the horizontal plane. So I'm going to use a horizontal layout group, right? So horizontal layout group. You're also going to learn a bit of layouting here, right? Now, here I would like the first tab to be in the center of the screen. So child alignment will be middle center, right? So middle center. Perfect. Now I want to control the child size, and I want to control the child width, but I do not want to force them to expand. All right. Now, one more thing I would like to do. I would like my tabs group to be as big as my buttons. So I will use a content size fitter, right? So add component, content size fitter. And here I'm going to select horizontal fit and vertical fit to preferred size. Preferred size, preferred size. As you can see, now I can no longer set the width and the height of this container, and it's all automatically done for me. Now I want to add my first tab, right? So I'm gonna create a empty game object, and I'll say tab A, right? As you can see, I cannot change the width, the height, the position. I cannot do anything to it. And that is because it is controlled by the layout group. You will get this when you're designing things, and I'm explaining you what exactly is happening and what you need to do, right? So I would like this tab to have, let's say, a text, right? So I want a text first instead of a background, because the text will determine the size of my tab, right? Whew. So what do I want? I want a text mesh pro, and this will be my label. Now, even though I added a text, my tab size is set to 0, right? So how do I use the size of the text to determine the size of my tab? Well, I need to do two things. First, this is where my text is. I'm gonna say content size filter. So I'm gonna change the dimensions of this label depending on the text inside of it. So I'm gonna say preferred size and preferred size. Right away, the size changed. And whenever I type something, you can see that the width changes. Let me show you the mouse actually. Right here, right? So tab A, right? Now, even though the label size changed, the parent didn't change because it doesn't have a content size filter, and it also needs a layout group to do that. This is a bit of a bug in Unity. We may fix it with a component later. So I'm going to add a content size filter here, but it doesn't work because it doesn't update. So in order to update this, I'm going to also add a horizontal layout group. Let's leave it like width, height. Yeah, I'm going to leave it like that. And right away, you will see that the width and height changed. This one changed as well. So if I duplicate this, you will see that the size, the tab size changed, right? And now let's add a background. So I'm going to add a image as my background. But now I have a problem. This image is set to 0 because I don't know what size it should have, right? So what I want to do is this image should expand depending on whatever the size of the label. And because I'm under a horizontal layout group, I would like this particular element to ignore the layouting. So I'm going to use a layout element and tick ignore layout. And now I have full control over these. And I'm just going to say make it as big as the size of this tab A of this object, right? Let's set a color to our label. Let's say a 40, 40, 40, something like that. And now, whenever I change the text, this background, because it's set to expand, let's say 0, 0, come on, what's wrong with you? 0, 0. It's set to expand to the size of its parent. It's going to change. So, hello, world. Now you say, yeah, this looks nice, but I need some padding for visual coherence, let's say. So what I'm going to do, remember that you use the horizontal layout group, add some padding. So I'm going to say, let's say left and right should be double than what you put the top to bottom for a good visual mix. So let's say 16, 16, 8, 8. There you go. And now this looks like this. But what if you want to use a curved background, let's say something with some nice rounded things? I think we should have here circle 32. There you go. And this should be set to sliced. And now this is how my tab looks. Let's say tab A. There you go. And that's it. If I change the size of the font, it will adjust. There you go. Yeah. So 32. All right, so now I have my tab. what I've done up to this point is to add some crucial elements, but I didn't add the component nor any animations. So let's add the UI tab here. Let's put it on top of everything. And now I can enter play mode and just say is on, is off, right? So let's enter play mode, is on, is off. Check it out here, right? Now you don't see any visual cues because we didn't add any animations. So let's add some, right? I'm gonna make this without a image because I do not need it. So I would like, when it's on, I would like to have a, I don't know, let's add a line here, for example. So let's create another image. Let's put it over the background. Let's color it green, for example. Now, again, I'm inside a layout and I really don't like how this looks. So I'm gonna put this, I'm gonna say layout element. Let's ignore the layout and let's put it on the back side. Height 2. Let's make it 4. Can you see it? 8, 4, 6. Yeah, that should be good for your eyes as well. All right. So now this will be my indicator, let's say. Right? So I would like to have a UI toggle color animator and set this to green when the tab is on and to red when the tab is off, right? And I'm also going to change the animations just because I want to. UI toggle color animator, I'm going to use that. Right away, when you add this, it will also add an image color target. It will also connect to your tab because there are a lot of automated systems that help in that regard. So what I'm going to do, I say when the toggle is off, let's say a custom value. Let's go to a red color, something like that. So off, on. What's the animation speed? Duration 0.2 and 0.2. All right, I'll take it. So now when we, what did I do? Is that connected? Right. So indicator, we have our controller. Yeah, it's correct. It's correct. So now I know the tab is off. There you go. So on, off, on, off. And I'm even gonna increase the background size. Maybe, actually, what should I do? I want a movement animation for this. So when it's on, let's raise the background a bit. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, let's move it a bit. Perfect. So I'm gonna add a UI tab. Now I have two choices. I can either use a vector-free animation or a UI animation. Let's go for a vector-free, and then I'm gonna switch to a UI animation. UI toggle vector free animator because the position is there you go. So is X, Y, and Z. So here I'm gonna drag and drop this game object, and I'm gonna say I want to control the local position, right? And when it's on, I want it to be up. So I'm gonna say from start value to start value plus 6, and when it's off, I want it to go from the start value plus 6 to my start value. So off, on. And I think it should move a bit faster. So let's say 0.3 for the off animation and 0.3, right? So off, on, off, on. I don't like this space, to be honest. So maybe it should move only 4. Yeah. So 4 here and 4 here. So off, on. There you go. And let's also make the size of the text. So let's do a scale animation. So UIToggle, UI animator. Let's reset this. I don't know why it looks like that. So let's say I want a scale animation. Actually, no, let's go with a scale. Yeah, let's go with scale. So when it's on, I would like it to have the start value. So from start value minus 0.2, minus 0.2. So on and off. I would like to have from start value to minus 0.2, minus 0.2 off. Sorry, minus 0.2 off. All right. And let's also raise it with the tab as well. So let's move and let's set this to a custom animation because I want it to move from start value when it's off for, so off, on. Okay. I'm just adding some settings, nothing fancy. From start value to 4. There you go. So this is my animation. So let's check it out because I added several animation actually. So now it needs to initialize, right? There you go. So now I have an on-off animation and it's pretty easy. Of course, I can also add all sorts of crazy things. So let's remove the label animation. And let's just duplicate it and test them out. So now if I duplicate the tabs, they look like that and it doesn't look well. So you need to add some spacing. How do you do that? Well, you do it here, horizontal layout group, spacing 8, let's say 4. There you go. And now let's enter play mode. And now I can change this any way I want. Can you see it? Yeah. All right. So I have a simple animation. Now, what I didn't add here is a selectable animation. So basically, when you hover your mouse and so on. So I'm going to use it on the label. So I say UI selectable this time. So these are the normal highlighted, pressed, selected, and disabled states, right? UI selectable UI animator, right? So we have some, let's reset this, some animations. So I say when you move the mouse over, I just want to increase the scale by 1. When you press it, I want it to be clicked. So I'm going to decrease the scale by 1. Selected, I'm just going to put it the same as highlighted. So again, 0.1, so 10%. And when it's disabled, well, let's use a reset animation. And let's use a reset. It's really easy. Okay, so when this is disabled, let's load organic 21 load. Let's see disable state, and I want it to fade to a custom value of 0.6 and to scale to a start value minus 0.2. Just make it smaller and a bit transparent. So now I can preview the state. So normal, highlighted, pressed, selected, and disabled, right? So that's how you control these. So now when I enter play mode, I should be able to have a interactable way, a way of knowing that I'm interacting with this particular game object. I know it's not a perfect animation, but I'm trying to explain the principles behind it. So yeah, and you can also see the states, right? So this is the normal state. When I'll move the mouse over, this will become highlighted. Check it out. Let me also zoom in a bit. And you will notice them here, yeah? So pressed, selected, and disabled. And it's separated than the on-off animation because they do not have to be the same thing, right? Okay, so now I have my tab. Let's also add a container. Actually, I'm going to use a UIView, just so you know it works with views. You do not have to, because the UI view, just like the tab is a UI toggle, the UI view is a UI container at its base. So let's create empty, and this will be my containers. All right, let's put the tabs on top, and let's move -32, something like that. And let's put this, let's make it as big as the screen, and let's make it something like that. 92, let's say 96, yeah. All right, so this is my containers container. And let's create a UI container. What is a UI container? Well, it's a simple game object that is able to, it's a rect transform that shows and hides. So I'm just going to create a game object and I'll say container A. I'm actually going to add a UI view for this. So I'll say UI view. And let's also add an image so we can see its body. All right, so let's say an image. This will be our background. And let's make it as big as possible. And I think I also want to add some colors to this. So let's say you will be this color, something like that. Let's make it like that. Darker, 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 even still, perfect. And now let's change the label color to something like that, tab A. And I also want a label here, UI Text Mesh Pro label, just so I know which one this is. Actually, if I'm going to use colors, I don't even need to do that. So this container has no animations, so hide and show will not do anything. So let's add an animation, and I'm going to say UI container. What do I want? A UI animator. So hide, show, it's very, very basic. All right, let's make it come from the bottom. So show from the bottom, hide towards the bottom. So hide, show, just so it's something easy to work with. All right, and now let's just connect our tab A with container A. And all we need now in order to create a true tab group, yeah, I need on the tabs to add a UI toggle group. Yeah, there you go. So I just added the UI toggle group with one toggle on enforced, and I need to reference it to my UI tab. Yeah. So now I'm just going to enable this, and I cannot set it off because I need at least 2 tabs for this to work. So let's just create a few more, right? So I'm going to say tab A, B, C, D, tab A, B, C, and D. So let's start with B. Let's duplicate container A, and I'm going to call it B. All right. And I'm going to select the background of both of these and just slightly change the color to something else. Maybe a bit more saturated so we know what the heck this is. Yeah. And I'm going to say label tab B. All right. Let's do the same for C and for D. So this will be container C. And again, tab C. Let's look at our label, tab A, tab C. And I also need to connect the proper containers. I forgot to do that at B, right? And let's also change the color with, am I changing the correct things? Yeah. So let's get it from here and just move further away. All right. What happened to A? Just go a bit lighter. All right. So now I have A, B, C, just so I know them. A, B, C. By the way, the containers are right here. So in case you're wondering why you're not seeing them, they're one on top of each other. You can, of course, move them out of the way, and because you also have custom start position, so they will work. But I'm just doing them like that. And this is tab D. I need to duplicate this, say container D. And again, let's change the background to something else. So let's copy this color and let's move even further away, something like that. And this will be my tab A, B, C, D. And I don't think I connected the container. All right, so now let's double check everything. So tab A has container A, tab B has container B, tab C has container C, and tab D has container D. And they're all in the same tab group, right? I can also say all containers should instant hide at start. And tab A, because I'm using the hierarchy auto sort, let's put this higher a bit. There you go. Tab A will be the one that will be enabled by default. So let's come here, and there you go, tab A. B, C, D, there you go. And you can click them any way you want. Now, I told you that this is a two-way synchronization. So basically, if I select C and I click show, because this is a tab group, it will not update, right? So just be aware of that. So what you need to do is say here in the tabs is actually not use a tab. So I'm going to go with passive in this case. So hide, show, hide. Why didn't you synchronize? Come on. Let's enter again. So show, there you go. It didn't synchronize the first time. Yeah, this is the play mode options. It's project settings. It's right here that mess things up from time to time, but it will work in your actual project. So if I say D, let's say show, it should synchronize, right? And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how it works. It's very easy to create and to manage, and you can do all sorts of things, and yeah, can enable show indicators, hide indicators, and whatever you may need to do. All right. Okay, so that's all for the UI tabs. Thank you for watching. If you like this, I'm gonna make more and on different other topics. And see you in the next video.